Hey, 7th graders, Mrs. Locke here, and I am with you to do your video notes. So what I've done is I've started coloring the sheet already so that we can save a little bit of time. I want to remind you that if I'm using gray, that's for you to use pencil. And if I've colored, that means you need to color. You don't need to color the same colors that I color for coloring's sake, but you do need to color. So I'm going to just show you what I've done so far. I start by putting the lesson in the circle, and we are doing Unit 2, Investigation 2, Lesson 5. So 2.2.5 would be the lesson that you put in there. I've taken the time to color all my stuff differently. You can color it all the same color if that's what you'd like, but you do need to color it. So I colored my star flower here. There are a couple things at the bottom that you can color. Your coloring doesn't have to be like perfect. You can see that I went outside the line there. Perfection isn't the point here, but it is the point to make it stand out for you in some way. So go ahead and pause this video and color your banner and your zhuzh, and then come back to me. All right, if you're back, what that means is that you're already done coloring, or you're ready to just move forward and you're going to color after the video. But basically what we've been talking about is adding numbers with different signs. And what we found out is that when you're on the number line here, and I'm just going to do this in pencil. When you're on the number line here, you have to think about the fact that you're going to cross a 0. And crossing the 0 changes some things. If I'm at 0 and I'm going to change my color, I'm starting at +3, but I'm going to add a -7. What's going to happen is that I'm going to have to cross the 0 to do that. All right. So that means that it takes 3 jumps just to get to the 0. So I'm only going to have 4 jumps left on the other side of the 0. This is why the number that ends up coming out, I circled the wrong one. This is why the number that ends up coming out, the place that you end at, is the difference between the absolute value of 7 minus the absolute value of 3. So 7 minus 3 is 4, and that is a reference to the jumps that we made here. The jumps after you crossed the 0. So that gets a little complicated when you think about it like that. Well, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to be that complicated. I think the picture isn't complicated, but it can be. So let's do one more together with the number line, and then we'll go up and talk about how we can think about it plainly. All right, so if I'm at -28, and I'm going to move +13, I'm moving in the positive direction. But in this case, I don't actually get to 0. I don't ever cross 0. So, oh no, low battery. I don't cross 0. Where I end up is 28 to 13. Or if I add 13, that is going to be 15. I end up at 15. So this 13 is me moving 13, but I end up at -15. Look at, I tried to forget my negative sign. And that's still the difference between them. So you're going to subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. And that happened in the one we did. The absolute value of 28 minus the absolute value of 13 was 15. use the sign of the greater absolute value in the sum. So in our first problem, the -7 had a larger absolute value, so the answer was negative. And in the second problem, the -28 has like the absolute value is bigger. That's why the answer also had a negative. So let's move forward. If I'm at +15 and I'm going to move in the negative direction, in this case, I get really close to a 0, but not quite. I end up at +1. Notice that the absolute value of 15 minus the absolute value of 14 is a 1. Since the 15, the larger of the two absolute values, is positive, my answer is positive. Math is full of patterns. Patterns and matchy and matchy-matchy and matchy-matcherson and matchy-mo-matchy. All right. So if we got a number line here, we're at +27, but we're going to move in the negative direction. In this case, we're going to cross a 0. So we're going to move 54, but we already moved 27 to the 0. And so now we have to figure out how many more jumps to go backwards. So 27, 37, 47 is 20. And then 7 more. Wait. 37, 47. Yep. So that's another 27, I think. And then we're going to end at -27. Notice that in this case, the 54 had a higher absolute value. So does the answer have a negative to match that -54. Why is that gray? I don't like that. There we go. That's easier to see. Another way to think about it is with counters. So if I had 5 plus -8, I would have 5 positive counters. And then I would have 8 negative counters. And then I'm going to cross them out as I go, because this positive and this negative cancel each other out. They're a 0 chip. This positive and this negative cancel each other out. That's a 0 chip. And that happens here, here, and here. So then what's left is 1, 2, 3 negative chips. Notice that it matches the greater absolute value is with the 8, and that has a negative sign. So the answer is also negative. I mean, we've already been doing it on the number line, so I'd love for you to finish with the number line. You're going to start here. You're going to move this many spaces. You're going to tell me where you end. And do the same down here. Start here. Move this many spaces. And then tell me where you end. These number lines should look kind of like the number lines I've already drawn for you. But I want to see you do them on your own. All right. Thank you, and I will see you soon.